Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the greatest player of all time, the Zerg in the red, the finisher. It's Serral, facing off against the much more relatable Terran from Team Liquid, the People's Terran in the blue. We have Cure. In a best of 7, Terran versus Zerg showdown. Another titanic TVZ between these top-tier players. And whether you're rooting for the best of us, or maybe the best of the rest of us, it'd be awesome before we start if you could smash that like button. And maybe even subscribe. Help me count the algorithm. And Jimmy, what do we got? Yeah, I'll ask him at the end, too. 1,662 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways because I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better than the first drones and Langs as Cure sent that SCV out, obviously inspired by his teammate Clem, to block the original base, and a drone almost goes down, forced to dodge into the Spore Crawler as the Reaper has kind of free reign over the base until the Queen comes out to angrily drive it away. Or spitefully, really however you want to characterize it, but I wouldn't be one to anthropomorphize the Queens, of course. Third command center's on the way. Third base severely delayed for Serral, or at least he wanted to take it, but he's got that drone in position. One of the Queens coming down. Cure, obviously up to something with the setup of his factory and his barracks back at home. And by that, that's still not a wall. Does he just not care? All right, well, not like Serral's doing any sort of crazy all-in. The Queen, Brenda bounced away, and, well, the stare down. It's not fast. It is furious. And now it's over. A Zergling speed finishing up right around 330. Not too fast, not too slow. Well, faster now, but that Reaper knows it needs to get out and get some friends to ideally incinerate as many Zerglings as possible. And now, moving over to the tech lab. The barracks relegated to installing add-ons for a while yet, like putting a browser on your new computer. And the third command center is nearly complete. Serral, just sitting back. I think both these players think their best chance is in a long, drawn-out macro game. Cure can come up with some sharp timings, but Serral will adapt. In a best of 7, there's going to be plenty of time to do so. And he's going for a 3-2-1-1 to start things off. It's almost cliche. On a map like this, where you got the close rush distance, or close air distance, rather, where the main bases are closer than anything outside of them, going for the double medevac drop, kind of Beyond style, is the most obvious play. That doesn't make it bad. All right, it just makes it, I guess, unoriginal. But he's the People's Terran because he loves those builds that you could probably take and use on the ladder and complain about Zerg in the Diamond League with. So, the double medevac drop has been a staple of Terran versus Zerg pretty much since Beyond made it look completely overpowered, like almost 10 years ago now. And Terrans have been using it to moderate to great success since. The thing about this map as well, the mineral wall, which Serral now spreading his creep past, but needs to bring those drones down to potentially deal with it. I assume, yeah, he knows about the third command center. He knows it's incredibly likely Cure has taken that pocket location. And until the Zerg rocks bleed out in the middle of the map in a few minutes, or they get helped along, there's no easy way to move over there. I think it's kind of notable that Serral isn't even bothering to take out the mineral wall. A little surprising. But he knows the timing. Those medevacs come out. Yep. Spore Crawler is on the way. And I think that Spore Crawler is timed almost exactly for when the medevacs can come across the map. It's going to be done with several seconds to spare. Cure loads up 2 medevacs, and the no-rush 5-minute game so far will likely end. 6 Roaches on the way, going for the much more brute force composition. Roaches against the Marines early, not very larva-intensive, allowing you to punch out a bunch of drones and still have some basic defense. And the Spore Crawler is done, and the perimeter, for now, will zone out the medevacs. No options for anti-air otherwise. It's simply too costly, I'm sure. Well, whenever Clem plays, at least, we get the questions of, why no Spire? Why no Mutas? The very simple answer is, they're expensive and vulnerable to bullet-type attacks, of which Terran has several. So, the simple cost of going for the Spire and the commitment to anti-air is usually not worth it, at least in the minds of, you know, the best player in the world. Instead, just focusing on zoning it out and building enough of a ground army to make sure it doesn't get anything done. Maybe later on we see a Spire, a Hydra Den, but right now he's rushing straight up to the hive. And the Queen's forced to drop back. The creep will be cleared out by a scan, but some roaches and lings. An interesting Serral only went for the +1 Carapace upgrade. Hedging his bets, works for all ground units, so, and adds on the +1 melee. The roaches are just the meat shield you shove in front of things in order to buy time to get the much more larva-intensive lings and banes. All right, later on, when you have 4 or 5 hatcheries and you have all the money you could ever spend and then some, that's when you're going for the ling, bane, and mass units. But the roaches are the much more economic option, or all in, if you're still thinking of Stefano as an active pro player. It's only been 10 years, all right? Hive is halfway done. Wow, that is a fast hive. 7-minute, going to be done around the 8-minute mark, which is almost the fastest you can get it while still getting any sort of mid-game unit composition. But Cure, not to be outdone, building a 4th command center of his own. I doubt that'll be the last. The roaches and lings. Serral with a slight supply lead, but mostly in drones. Not too relevant. There's actually a healing shrine that works for air units on this map. Does Cure know about it? He's literally flying by it. Please heal your medevac. You can heal your medevacs in this one. It's actually a little ridiculous. The Zelnaga healing shrine? No? Okay. Cure your medevacs, Cure. Sorry. These players, they're used to playing on a certain type of map for many, many moons. And whenever a map introduces new features or even slightly different ones, it takes a while to get used to. And right now, Cure, that medevac, probably a little upset about it. Also heals everything. Especially this one. Oh, the Queen? One of the medevacs split up. It's right there. It's right there. Okay, do you know how to read? That's a real question, though. Pro players and reading. I feel like Serral reads epic poems. And Cure reads Terran fan fiction, which I assume is mostly jukebox songs. Meanwhile, adrenal glands are on the way. The first choice for those Zerglings. The best damage upgrade. It's like he's actively avoiding it. Okay. For someone named Cure, you really should know about the healing shrine. Now, the one concern I have for Serral is the lack of... He hasn't taken down this mineral wall. He can't set up that flank easily. And now the army's maxed out. Gonna box out the Marines over to the north side. Gonna be driven back. Studiously avoiding... He may accidentally fly over it. Maybe he'll learn then. But the attack down the center, Cure putting together a strong push, but pulling back as he gets the 4th base. And now Serral, an ultraless cavern, is on the way. As he has been undeterred, his economy is booming right now. And he has plenty of units on the field to zone out whatever Cure could put on the ground. Until ghosts are behind the lines or liberators are above, Serral should be able to crush the armies, unless Cure is in a completely ridiculous position. The key part is the larva. He's got 20 larvae in the bank, going through that golden choke point, like the Midas slaughterhouse there. You know, Whittle Mine gets a big hit. And another checkerboard of depots in position as well. The armory in a conspicuous position might actually be taken out. The Zerglings eventually get dealt with, but this means Serral has a surprisingly little amount of units over to the left side to deal with the main attack. But here come the Vipers. Blinding Cloud on 2 of the tanks. Gonna completely remove them from the fight. But wait, there's more Marines in the back line. He arcs out, stims forward, and slices through. Meanwhile, the Zerglings in the main base. The Zerglings in the 3rd. The SCVs will be cut down. 2 Ultras in production. Does he have chitinous plating on the way? No. But both sides have somewhat clear economic problems. And it looks like Serral got the better end of this exchange. At least for now. Cure destroyed, technically, more resources. But he only got one of the extraneous bases on the outside. And, well, having the gold base right down the center is certainly going to help. Serral can build dozens upon dozens, hundreds upon hundreds of Zerglings. You're beautiful. Not you or your friends. But he can throw them away and rebuild them again. Meanwhile, Cure is knocked down to, well, the Zerglings burrowed in the main. I don't think Cure was looking at him. Unburrow gonna get a Marauder, maybe some Marines. Plus 3/3 is on the way, and Cure lost his armory, so he's actually gonna be behind on upgrades. Even though the supplies don't reflect it, the bank does not reflect it. Serral has taken all the momentum in this game. The tech is so far behind for Cure. He does not have a Ghost Academy. The Ultras are on the field, and they're a lot to contend with. We should see the Ghost Academy enter production before Cure moves forward. Cure. He starts 3/3. No Ghost Academy. He's going to try to go forward. That's not enough Ultras to intimidate him. Doesn't quarantine the medevacs very quickly. They take a chunk of damage. Meanwhile, counterattack. A few Zerglings going to deny the center base. Another parasitic bomb. Many of the medevacs brews trying to draw out the Widow Mines, but that's spread. I can't believe it's not budding. Ultras coming in for more. Drawing out more shots to the back line. Zerglings bravely running through. Chitinous planning allowing the Ultras to tank a whole fusillade of hits. But not enough to stop Cure. The sheer depth of this bio ball is continuing to roll forward. Good splits. Marauders in the front trying to absorb the Banelings. The medevacs for all policy, making sure he has plenty to heal the Marines that survive. He cuts down an Ultralisk and is stimming forward past the corrosive bile. And Serral underestimated the power of this Terran army, and now it's tearing right through him. But the Vipers have regained the energy somehow during the fight. Serral keeping up on it. 6 Ultralisks in production. Ultralisk speed is about to complete, and the medevacs are being taken down by the Queens. Hold it together, Brenda. I'm holding. Calm down. Sorry. Medevacs being picked off by the parasitic bomb. Cure down to 6 of them. He's lost 6 medevacs so far to 100 Marines. The Banelings crashing in, mostly eating the Widowmon hits, but a few Ultras remain. The Hatchery under fire. Another Queen almost brutalized there, but the Hatchery's going to be targeted first. Serral halts for now. And again, this was a battle fought over a base in the middle of the map. That was Serral's 6th base right there. Does he need 6 bases? No. Does he want 6 bases? Of course. But Cure spent most of his momentum on breaking that base, and he did a great job of it. Honestly, Serral looked kind of a bit taken aback in a literal sense by how strong that army was, even without the ghosts. But it can't last forever. Infestor's on the way. Ghost Academy in production. Corrosive Bow's double kill on the Liberator knocks him out of the sky, and the Venn diagram of freedom is removed. But the creep spread is being pushed back as well. Continuing around. The Ultras just trundling through. The gold base still mining. Serral, he is now mining through the mineral wall. Honestly surprised it took him that long. But Cure has done an incredible job of keeping up with the momentum. Serral has not been able to pick him apart here. In fact, Cure's had most of the initiative, and Serral's just been setting up counterattacks. But that Serral Fester is in position. The scan, he anticipates it. But the Ultras just bashing through the planetary at the 3 o'clock position. The gold base goes down, and he's got a big problem. Some might even say a massive problem to contend with. Then the ghosts line up their shots, and it gets a whole lot smaller. The Ultras chewing through. Corrosive biles to knock down the Liberators while they're still sieged. But Cure taking good trades. He drops in supply. He loses some SCVs. How many orbitals? Only 3. Which is certainly not that critical mass, that Iron Bank, that Costco checkout of scans, that he can constantly be looking for the infestors. 3 orbitals is not enough to reliably deal with the infestors. Yeah, what is he going to do? Build a Raven? Sorry. Zerglings. Chewing through some more SCVs. Scan. This time he notices, but Cure is going to run out of energy quick. Serral's rebuilding. He's retaking the map. The snipes knocking into some of the Ultras. Hatchery goes down the center again. Widowmine is drawn in. The Vipers over the top. I think an EMP landed. Parasitic bomb on one of the medevacs. But the ghosts are still a lot to contend with. Somehow more Zerglings slipped in, who make it all the way into the natural. A few unlucky Marines left behind. The Zerglings burrow in the main. We have to use a scan for 2 badly bruiselings. Likely at this point. But Cure, he can't afford to lose his momentum. He's got the full M&M. The Marines, the Marauders, the Medevacs, the Mines, the Magofs. And Serral! The Ultra! Yes! The Healing Shrine! No, come back! I don't even know if that was on purpose, but the healing shrine, healing up the Ultra faster than a Queen ever could. Sorry, Queens, but the medevacs are almost entirely out of energy, and Parasitic Bomb may make them out of life. He's actually fighting off of creep here, always a dangerous proposition. The Ghosts line up their shots. The Liberator takes a few extra pot shots as well. And so far, what in the... A Zergling, 5 more SCVs dead. Serral taking the top left quarter base. A hidden, I think mostly as a placeholder to make it that much harder for Cure to actually get... One roach! Living up to its most accurate terminology. Somehow. Serral. More Zerglings, 10 SCVs dead. He's picking them apart. Hydralisk Den is on the way. 3 hatcheries at a time. Serral does not have a huge bank, though. One mediocre fight, and this could turn on its head. Cure is building the army. He's got 7 Ghosts, 21 Marauders, 4 Liberators. But the Ultralisk count continues to grow. All it takes is 1 fungal. And there's no more fun for the Terran. But Cure has seemed to be very aware of this. He's been paying very close attention. He's pre-scanning his army. What do we have here? 8. He's at Serral's... Okay. I mean, these are resources that Cure probably won't have access to. The main base was lifted, I think, to the gold now. Ultra's trying to cut behind, but this siege push, the overlapping Venn diagram of liberation, he's on top of the Hydralisk Den. The Ultralisk will chew through the planetary fortress, but this is quite a choke point to deal with. This is where the lack of anti-air really starts to show for Serral. As right now, he never got any Hydras out. He's relying on Ravagers and Queens for his anti-air. 13 drones dead. I think down on the low ground of the center base, some more Ultras taken out. The Roach Warren as well. Zerglings running by. Parasitic Bomb on the Liberators. They don't go down in one, though. And the Ultras try to just get past the Liberation zones, but they come into sniper range. And the Ghost will take them out. Loses 1 more Viper. Cure still holding. More snipes, and now he's in between the main base and most of the tech in the rest of Serral's economy. Losing the tech wouldn't be the end of the game, but it certainly wouldn't help. Serral down to 140 supply. Cure at 125. The army supplies are nearly even. Serral mining from that top left-hand corner base may actually be the difference. The Liberator tried to deal with all this, but by the time it does, 14 more SCVs dead. Cure with only 28 remaining. Parasitic Bomb slowly, ever so slowly chewing through the Liberators. But they are far from the ideal choice. There are no other choices. Queens, Vipers, he lost the Roach Warren, so there's no other Spore Crawlers, maybe. But Cure has 96 army supply to Serral's 72. And he's just driving the point home here. He's got that single Liberator. That's almost impossible. There's only 1 Ravager. The Ultralisk Cavern is now dehydrated and bleeding out on the low ground. A single Ultra, but the Ghosts line up their shots. And that Ultra becomes Notra. No. Jimmy, edit that out. Hive is going to be taken down. Serral's tech entirely, well, gutted. Not entirely reset while he still has the Ultra Cavern. But relying on just Ultras seems a bit optimistic. The spawning pool itself is going to be taken down. Serral trying to cut down the economy. 4 orbital commands. There's going to be 7, 8 Ultras on the field. Serral's actually trying to figure out what he can build. And you know what? The base in the top left-hand corner went from a curiosity and a cheeky move to the potential saving grace. The Changelings out in the way. A single Infestor to rule them all. And from the darkness, unburrow and bind them. That's what he needs. That's what he wants. It's what he has. He has one opportunity. Will he capture it? Or will he let it slip? That one, if Cure just scans, he has to know it's a risk. He's scanning around the edges here. He knows it's a risk, but he doesn't have so much energy. Like, he wants to drop mules. The Zerglings keep coming in. He wants to scan for the Infestor, but it could be anywhere. It's almost impossible. Technically, you can see it, but Infestor sign is very hard to read on most maps. Let's see. It's out there. He knows it's a risk, but Cure has the army supply. The Ghosts, the Liberators, maybe Cure will actually figure out the... If Cure figures out the Healing Shrine, that could change the entire game. The Infestor is moving its way down. He scans on top of his army, but Serral waits. He's still got that base in the top left corner. It's now mining gas. He has full energy Infestor underneath. Is it time? Gonna draw out the Widowmine shots with a single sacrificial Ultra. The army's moving up, getting all clumped up. Serral moving in, Parasitic Bomb, throws out the Fungal, and it kind of misses the mark, but is it still enough? That's so many Ultras. And they're both gonna... Healing Shrine! Well, Cure microing around. Great micro so far. Doing an incredible job of keeping the army alive, and Cure's down to 72 versus 94 supply. 17 drones dead. Serral keeps finding Zerglings. Those 2 Zerglings from earlier are now at full HP in the main. What just bled out? I think that was the infestation pit. Serral is about to lose all his tech. Serral! He doesn't have a lair. He doesn't have any active creep tumors. He's about to lose his Ultralisk Cavern. He's rebuilt the spawning pool. But the top left hand, the hidden base, is actually 100% changing this game. Cure thinks he has one base to deal with. He's committing so much to hitting that base. But what he doesn't know is everything. Serral's almost Bronze League Heroes level strategy. That bell curve of, is it 20 or 200 IQ? And we're definitely in the triple digits now. As Cure is working off of imperfect information. Serral is doing his best not to drag an army over there. But if Serral was just on the bases that Cure sees, Cure is winning. As it stands, Cure might be winning either way. But the lifeline, the income. Serral getting what he can. Building more drones. There's almost nothing left on either side. The economies are shattered. A fraction of what they once were. What remains? 5 Ultralisk, 68 Zerglings, and 2 Vipers. Up against 2 Liberators, 5 Ghosts, 20 or so Marines and Marauders, a single Widowmine, and a few Medevacs. So rebuilding his lair, his Ultralisk Cavern bled out. There will be no more Ultras. Some of the Zerglings hunted down, but even more of them showing up. Parasitic Bomb. Will Cure even scout this base by the time this is done? Either way. Cure dropping mules. He still has 4 orbital commands. Serral back up to 41 drones, which would be a little sad for 5 minutes in the game, but 24 minutes is all he can pull together. Cure had barely more SCVs than he started with at 16. Cure's lost 126 SCVs. The blue mineral workers are who suffer the most. Serral's lost 13,000 more resources in total. Baneling Nest being rebuilt, but the sheer amount of Zerglings. Cure, a master stroke of limited intelligence here. I mean he hit it, not in it was dumb way. See, I feel dumb by explaining that, but Serral with the top he still doesn't know. Cure has not, at no point in this game has he scouted that location. Wow. Parasitic Bomb. Those Vipers. He's only lost 2 Vipers. He's so incredibly efficient. Not just about keeping him alive, but about sending him back, gathering energy. We've seen multiple times. He comes back in the same fight with enough energy for more spells. Which is immensely hard to do while doing anything else, but Serral's starting to pull away with the supply. Having a completely unchecked base at this stage will certainly do that. And there we go. 12 SCVs, 11 SCVs. It wasn't even the Infestor. It was the commitment to that base. If he had taken the base down the center, Cure would have scouted immediately, but it's that top left corner. The snipes are lined up at the Ghosts. Well, they're thinning it out, but there's so many Zerglings underneath. Does he have Cloak? I don't believe so. He does not, and I don't think it would matter. The base will remain unscouted as the Ultralisk chase it to the ends of the earth, and GG! Serral claims the game. It wasn't easy, it wasn't quick, but with the help of that cheeky base in the corner and an unending supply of patience, Serral, after 27 Ultralisks and 140 SCVs go down, will claim game number 1. Cure, a master of doing exactly the right thing and not straying very far outside of that comfort zone. Not straying very far outside of any zone, actually. Going straight for Serral's bases, setting up the drops, executing well, using those choke points that Serral was clearly... He gutted the man. He cut out the hive. The Ultralisk Cavern bled out. How depressing is that? But Serral held. And now we're headed to game number 2. I wonder if Cure had time to go in the replay. I'm sure what he did, what a lot of players will do quit and replay. And they'll just take a look at the minimap, take a look around, and I think probably quit immediately after that, because it takes less than 1 second to become obvious of what went horribly wrong there. And it rarely can a pro game come down to, well, obviously that. But obviously that. Serral, with a victory on Torches, a map that is quite difficult for the Zerg for reasons that Cure clearly exploited. Still upset about the healing shrine. This map also has a healing shrine, though it doesn't heal air. Here on Persephone. Okay, I'm dropping. Yeah, get Pig out of here. This might be his tournament. Thank you to Pig as well. Jimmy, did we already put it in the description? How hard is it to copy and paste? Anyways, thank you to Pig, as always, for putting on incredible tournaments. Pretty much holding StarCraft up by the strength of his erect arms. Strong arms, too. Not to judge. All right. But make sure to check him out when and wherever you got the opportunity. Got a scout. It's one of those things. But it was close, though. That was not the decisive crush that I think Serral would have liked. Or you might even expect going in. But Cure is no frills. Maybe needs a few frills, but he is the absolute textbook Terran. And I mean that in a great way. But he will do exactly the best, like, percentage play with as little micro as possible and as much production. Honestly, things like when to build the barracks and reactors and not queuing up units, all the things that would be immensely boring if I was to sit there and stare at them in the production tab or watch the base the whole time. But these little details that are the difference between Diamond League and the best of the best. Like, you can build your barracks at the same time, your medevacs, but even the efficiency of SCVs and their pathing is something that a lot of Terrans will factor in. That's part of why, for a while, many Terrans didn't even scout. It's like, my build is so perfect. I've worked it out here in my TI-83 calculator that I can't send an SCV out or my command center will be 3 seconds later. It's like, but what about the 10% of the time you die to 6 Zerglings? Acceptable. Also Zerg Imba, and should be nerfed. And the Balance Council heard them, but here we go again. The Queen Flirtation phase, as the Reapers call it. The Queen Harassment phase, as the Queens call it. Reaper, though, driven back. Serral eventually gets that third base. Double bounce. Zerglings overstayed their welcome a bit, and they weren't welcome at all, so aliens will be able to roast them. Is it going to be another 3-2-on-1? Indeed, it is another map with close air distances, with the ability to quickly send those medevacs across. And it's another map where it seems Cure is intent on doing just that. Rotorn on the way. Very similar timing. Lair should be following it up momentarily. But the Lair not as quick. Well, I think the Rotorn is a safety one, but he saw the starport. All you need to know is the starport timing. That's when the medevacs can come out. That's when the real threat is. Without the medevacs, the Marines are just drug abusers with an anger management problem. So Reaper's still bouncing around the Queens. There's the Lair. And so far, deja vu. We've just been in this place before. Almost exactly the same builds. No evolution chamber yet for Serral. If there was ever a time for the unit that Serral effectively coined, the Muta, well, he's adding a lot of gas, and there's an evo chamber. Hey, keeping the options open. I'd love to see it. They're my favorite unit in the game. All right. I don't care if it sounds biased. All right. In fact, I do care. I want it to. It should. Have some commitment. Don't pretend to be unbiased. Have some passion. Have some emotion. The time for casters hedging their bets and pretending to just call balls and strikes is past. It's 2025. I'm sure there's some AI algorithm that could do that right now. All right. You got to add some personality, some pizzazz. Maybe not that, but like something. You gotta inject it into the... Inject? No, not now, Brent. Somebody said inject! Susan, did you inject today? Sorry. Sorry, I am backed out for a moment. Infestation pit's on the way, and the double drop is scouted off to the right side. Cure tried to sneak it by, but Serral, ever aware, knowing the risk. He even has some units patrolling in the main base, but his main focus was on finding those medevacs. And Cure not going to be able to get away with it. Much of the value of the double medevac drop, well, as we saw last game, you don't have to get damage done. But it certainly helps if you did. But if you're able to stop any momentum from the first two medevacs, then you're reliant on the 200 supply push. Which can work out just fine, but puts a lot on facing Serral's full army. And this map is definitely harder, at least in the mid to late game, to deal with a maxed out Zerg. Hive is on the way, not quite as quick. Fourth base, well saturated. Armory in production. Is he building in a weird spot again? No, factory there. Honestly, part of last game, I think, decided by the fact that Cure decided... Like, he just put his armory right out in the middle of everything. It was a display armory. And he didn't really upgrade much with it, but it existing was needed in order to get his 3-3 upgrades. He had a 3-3 deficit because his armory was just sticking out in the middle of everything. Nobody wants to see that. Oh. Like, well, isn't the armory for infantry upgrades and the engineering bay for mech upgrades? Don't be ridiculous. Don't question it. Drilling Claws is the choice this time around. Well, I believe he had it last time as well. Just adding those factory units in. Making life very difficult and ideally as short as possible for the Zerg. Overseer sneaking by. Does he actually have enough for Contaminate? Serral been mixing some Contaminate plays in. Delaying upgrades, very helpful. Adrenal Glands, Baneling Speed, Vipers in production. Hive Tech fully coming online. +2 Carapace as well as +1 ranged attack. Now on the way. Ranged attack. I imagine melee's queued up after, but just having that upgrade at all is interesting. Okay. Working both angles. So far, minimal losses for either side. They've just been shadowboxing effectively. Both of them know what the other has, and just trying to catch either of them not looking for a moment. But until Cure commits to a push, the Hellbats get left behind like the sad, slow, sad disappointments they are. Here comes Cure. Near 200 supply, 9 minutes in. 2-2 is on the way. This is going to be a difficult push to hold, but made a lot easier by the crowbar of Zerg. The Viper. Gathering energy right now. Adrenal glands only 3/4 of the way done. Cure will have an upgrade advantage, maybe compounded by the 2-2. The Roaches and Banelings, but are there any Ravagers? A few. 4 Ravagers, enough to take out those tanks. Counterattack attempted, but a factory part of the wall off. He's just going to work on the depots and pull back. Serral, Lings, Banes, Vipers, one blinding cloud. Some more on the back line. Banelings rolling through. Widowmine's though in a good position. Gonna spread out the Banelings to minimize the damage. Whips out the corrosive bow, but the Marines are stimming forward. Don't even have the 2-2 done yet. Reinforcements cutting down the counterattacking. Cure, I think, getting a solid trade to start things off. Not committing all of his army, but the bio is just kind of hanging out there with the medevacs right overhead. The Infestor Viper Womp... Oh, Changeling very dead. No further tech. No Lurker Den. No Ultralisk Cavern. As Serral wraps around to cut off the reinforcements, Ravagers at the front. Scatters the Corrosive Bile. Queen! Bravely. Oh, but the Widowmine takes out a huge chunk of the Lings and Banes, and Cure's momentum will continue forward. The Marines, the Marauders, the Mines, and the medevacs. And a single tank backstopping the push. Lurker Den in production. Lings and Banes working their way around to the north, but Serral starting to struggle from the most common Zerg issue on this map. The inability to move forward. Past the first 4 bases, it becomes almost impossible to fight an even supply army without potentially losing a base. The first 4 bases are almost free, but everything past that, you're going to have to work real hard for it. Trying to pull some of the supply out of position with the counterattacks. Picks off a Widowmine, Corrosive Bile. Working on another, knocks it out. One more. Trying to draw the shots. Think he successfully did so. Unburrows the mine. Quarantines the medevac. Good micro from Cure. And following up with some reinforcements over to the right side. Lings and Banes rolling through. Bit optimistic. Yanks at a tank. Get over here. And overall, though, Banelings rolling in. Cure loses 4 SCVs. But Cure is really putting together a strong multi-pronged pressure in Serral right now. In a precarious position at best. The Widowmine's trying to burrow. Serral takes them out before they can do so, but Cure's banking on money. Infestor. Burrowing past, sneaking up. Marauder. They'll expect one of us in the wreckage, brother. But the Infestor's in position. The Zerglings. When they needed him most, that Infestor is in a prime position. Oh, he sets it up. He throws the fungal. Bit of a wombo combo. Not incredible. Hydras, though, helping out with the medevacs. And added into the composition. I don't think Cure really realized. And now, with the Hydras, Serral's able to clear the field. The double drop, though. Drones under fire. Nidus network is on the way. Lurkers could certainly be a difficult opponent for someone who, once again, well, he does have Ghost Cloak on the way, but he has no Ghosts in production. Unless that Cloak works really well. Liberator overhead. There are a few Hydras mixed in, but don't mistake them for an anti-air unit. The medevac's on hold position while they get ping cushioned by the Hydras and knocked out of the sky. A gruesome death for those Marines who saw it coming. But another hatchery dead. As Serral unable to hold on to both sides while Cure is now mining from 5 bases. But a Nidus. Did Cure leave behind the Nidus defense team? He's not. Oh, he is reacting. Are there Lurkers inside? The big reveal? Too late, Cure. He's gonna get some Lurkers out. Serral's willing to sacrifice the Nidus to start this attack. The Lurkers burrow down. Another Nidus is on the way. He's cutting through the main mineral line. The production is under fire, and this doesn't get easier with time. Splitting backwards, Parasitic Bomb, Liberator not sieged, Widowmine's not burrowed, Baneling's crashing through, but he is off a creep. Healing Shrine helping out, another Nidus. Just metastasizing in the main right now. The Zerg continuing to cut through the barracks. And Cure Really, the first one is the one you need to deal with. It only gets worse from there. Cloak is now completed for the Ghost. Another Nidus to the top right corner. Serral looking to outmaneuver and so far succeeding. Some changelings just hanging out. The scans. Oh, the Ghost, get out of the way! Might get interrupted, but no, pops right back into the escape Nidus because of course he does. Another Nidus is on the way. More Nidus worms. Scattered throughout. 2 more starports in production as well as a Ghost Academy. Did he lose the Ghost Academy? He's building a second Ghost Academy next to his first one, which either he forgot or he wants nukes. Porque no los dos. But Serral, he's finding success in slowing the game down. He's got 7 is he doing the Oversight Committee build? 7 Overseers to make sure he has enough. That's not quite the mass changeling roguelike strategy that we've seen well, mostly by Rogue, but it's getting up there. He's going to have 11 Overseers, which is just constant changelings to keep track of things and potentially Nidus. Banelings coming through, Parasitic Bomb helping out. Kier's starting to dip in supply, mostly because he lost a lot of his production. He lost multiple barracks. He lost many of his add-ons. He lost all his initiative out on the map. That one Nidus. Well, I think you can see when the Nidus hit, as the income has taken a tumble. Well, the relative income has taken a tumble. Kier's been mining a similar amount, but Serral's grabbed not 1, not 2, but 3 more bases in that time, as Cure has no longer been able to apply the pressure. Cure is fully hardening his shell right now. Retreating as a turtle does. As a turtle do. The Mass Overseer. A second Nidus network. Just continue spamming out the worms like it's that new Dune game. Why are there so many? But it's really fear. Okay. Fear is the mind killer. But the mind killers are lurkers, and that's even better. So. The lurkers just going back and forth, toying with a Liberator, slowly cutting through any exposed parts of the base, which also includes some SCVs. Cure is just, he's having a breakdown right now. He is struggling to keep up. There's lurkers on the left, lurkers on the right, and I assume there's some lurkers down the center. No, I assumed incorrectly. That's just Hydraslings and Banes, but that'll do just fine. Banelings crashing into the... Hello? Oh. He comes back, he gets it, but it costs like another dozen Banelings. 62 more Zerglings in production. Well, that's awkward. Another worm in the main. The changelings. Hey, you want a piece of meat, boys? Not a meat coming through right now, you know what I'm saying? Shh. Billy! No. The Cloak Ghost, definitely an option to deal with this. Thing is, Cure has so much money in the bank. All he needs to do is stabilize, but Serral has tilted him right now, and I don't know if he's ever going to be able to ride himself. Those Overseers, another wave of changeling. The SCV, there's a changeling, but wait, there's also a burrowed Zergling. Serral with multiple flavors of annoying Zerg debris. Just the extraneous Zerg units. Getting flyer attack, and Cure is... It feels like he's just whipping his head around trying to figure out what exactly he's... Let's go to the Cure camp for a moment. Bit of a horror movie. Nidus. He doesn't see anything out of the map. He has to assume the moment he steps into that darkness. Oh, another one. Okay, and they get right back in. What's going on here? I'm not mining there. I've got some more orbitals, so that's good. Are those real? What is reality? Ah, well, and that's an army. So that's something to be concerned about. The Liberators. The Olympic rings of freedom there, but... Sieging up the entire... Oh my. Liberation is at hand, but the Zerglings don't have hands. Well, in Brood War, they kind of have, like, weird hand-looking things. But they've evolved, and I think they just have claws now. I don't know what's up with those Brood War things. I don't know what's going on there. All right, I'm not here to speculate. I'm no xenobiologist. I just play one on the TV. You guys have TVs? Well, I don't, actually, so you might not. You have phones. You guys have phones. Whatever device you're on, after you've liked and subscribed, you don't need to tell me. You just need to keep... Oh, my parasitic bomb! But the Liberators are pincushioning and thinning out much of the army. The Overseer's going around the air blocker in an awkward fashion, and Serral plummets to a 50 supply lead after that devastating fight. He loses Serral's mining again from a base that Cure luckily happened by this time. The gold base was actually mining for how long? Actually, several minutes. As Cure, he can win a battle, but the war is clearly out of reach right now. More Overseers, more Banelings, more Corruptors. Serral with enough bank to start the next game strong. And Cure either needs to force a decisive fight, like he was able to do last game, or deal with it much better than this. The Changelings, the mass Overseer Changeling. Ridiculous. The Liberation Zones. Happy 4th of July. Liberation is at hand. The amount we spent on these Liberators only to get overrun by a bunch of Zerglings. Well, the Corruptors just knocking out the Liberators in the main as the Lurkers continually chew their way through. Serral has now expanded to Cure's side of the map solidly at that, like, 10 o'clock position. We're gonna call it AM because Serral seems like an AM type of guy. The main base is crumbling. Cure holding on to his outlying ones, but do you want your production or do you want your economy? Because it seems to be a choice between the two at the moment. But there are 18 Liberators. The parasitic bombs, though, in this healing shrine doesn't work on them. The Corruptors overhead. The Overseer's trying to cover for potential snipes. But, well, okay, the Banelings will complete. Again, another battle that it feels like Cure won. Because Corruptor Zergling is not a perfect answer to Mass Marine Liberator. Oh, that's awkward. Command center waiting for a parking spot. Always feeling entitled. All right, the hatchery had to build itself here. You just flew over. All right. Well, Serral has lost 500 Zerglings. He's only lost 9 Lurkers, which seems very low with how he's been playing. He only has 1 Lurker on the map, but 126 Zerglings. How many Nidus Worms? 16. He's just drowning him. Feels like Cure is just very slow. He's like dying in quicksand, which, to be honest, I thought was going to be a much bigger issue in my day-to-day life than it was. Considering there is no quicksand in front of my computer. All right. Where I do my sit-down comedy routines. But who knows? So, Cure still has one of the best Terran armies you can get. He never got high-sec auto-tracking and building armor, which seems like a significant oversight. But he does have 13 Ghosts, 10 Liberators. Plenty of bio, plenty of medevacs. Serral has 16 Overseers now. But the parasitic, like, how many Vipers? How has he not lost a Viper? This is why Vipers can't get, like, slime ball water balloons. Serral's over here keeping his Vipers alive for, like... He's got the Platinum health plan. I don't mean the League. Somehow his Vipers have, like, a whole escort policy Meanwhile, I'm over here losing my Vipers somehow. The moment they come out of eggs, they just fly into a missile turret. What is up with that? How does that work? Serral has cast like 74 parasitic bombs, yet the Vipers still live. The same 2 Vipers he built like 15 minutes ago. These Vipers are almost as good as the Age of Empires player. In fact, there's multiples, so twice as good at least. Cure just keeps building Liberators, but Liberators have not been and will never be an efficient counter to Zerglings. It really feels like this is just a very long death animation for Cure. Unless he can find a himself for Serral's playstyle right now. I think part of it is the map being slightly less conducive to that choke point style. Part of it is Serral correctly picking the lurkers in order to find the backstabbing damage. Ultralists are great at breaking down the door, but once they have something behind it, this mass Zergling place, they get their course. They're irritated. They get everywhere, and that continues to be true. Cure's bank is almost gone. The Corruptor's parasitic bomb on the back line. The Baneling's rolling through. Just right past the Marauders, not even bothering. Hunting for bigger game. And now, Cure, 70 supply wiped out. Serral's remaxed before the fight ends. He was building Zerglings as he was... I feel like he was holding down the Zergling key as he was fighting. Either way. He's got the gold base again. There and back again. A Serral story. A very expected... Hey! Jacked up and good to go. Where do you get some of those stim packs? The Overseers with more changelings than there are non-changeling Marines and Cure. Not with a bang, but with a series of very dramatic ghost screeches. Taps out of game 2. Serral with another excruciating victory. That was more one-sided than a Mobius strip this time. Serral just smothered him, drowned him in that quicksand, just so much Zerg. Very different than game 1, where the entire game hinged on Cure not scouting one base. Didn't matter how many bases Cure scouted. Serral had more than enough acid to counter it. The Vipers, I think, lived the entire game. Stop it, Serral. For the good of every other Zerg in the world. How many times? It's like, oh, you can't buff Vipers because Serral is over here with the Vipers that he, like, his grandpappy and his grandpappy before him used those Vipers, and now they passed on to him. And now he uses them even better. All right, those Vipers have passed down through 3 generations. It's like, don't question it. It was funny. All right, and feels true. Please clap and like and subscribe. But well, here we go again. And the top left of Magnata, we have Serral. The bottom right, we have his punching Cure. Why not lurkers in game 1? I do think ultras are better. Like, ultras peak harder. Okay, when they peak, you'll know. Because you'll know when they're no longer peaking, mostly. But the ultras can hit incredibly hard if you get that very strong timing before they have Ghosts and Liberators. Lurkers can be countered. Smaller amounts of lurkers can be countered easier with a typical Terran composition. Whereas the ultras might just be able to roll through and carry that momentum for the rest of the game. But in game 1, the ultras didn't find that momentum. Serral adjusting, adapting, overcoming, evolving, if you would. And here we are. Even adopting the mass changeling style. That is what really contributes to the feeling of getting stung by 1,000 bees. All right. Maybe not even bees, like fruit flies. They're not even stinging you. They're just flying around your head. Really annoying. Get one like in your ear. And sorry, I apologize. A little. But like those changelings are not going to hurt you. But they're certainly keeping you distracted. And they might keep your eyes off something much more dangerous. Occasionally the changelings are used for like some sort of wall off or some cheeky kind of hold position play, but it's mostly constant. It's like map hacks for Zerg. Terrans have scans. Protoss have Protoss units. And Zerg have changelings. Reapers, the choice. A triple Rex Reaper play from Cure. A cheeky cheese, as it's known in certain circles, but... So, well, if Serral doesn't realize this is 3 Rex, he can die. Queens and Lynx. It's already too late to go roaches or spine crawler. This map has a Reaper balcony, as opposed to just a Reaper cliff or jump location, as we've seen used by things like Medivacs in the past. The Queens. Another bounce. And another. Keeping the damage on the Queen. Zergling speed is still pretty far off. Susan, run! I'm running as fast as I can. We're the same speed. Yes, but it was really more the sentiment I was talking. Oh my. How is this? How do they heal more than us? How is that fair? It's not about what's fair. It's about the fact that Serral keeps winning things. I don't. Wait a sec. Sorry. I am. Mic'd out for. The transfuses as they tap each other on the shoulder. And so far, Cure not finding the overwhelming success. He's killed off 6 Zerglings, which is not the level of damage he was looking for. The Zerglings looking for the wraparound. No grenades thrown, and that means the Zergling's going to be able to thin him out. Gets one, tries another grenade. And this is looking mighty underwhelming from Cure so far. Yes, Serral has committed a lot in order to deal with this, but he does have 3 bases. He's built 9 more drones. The Reapers will be hunted back to their base, pinned up against the supply depot. He doesn't kill all of them, but Serral successfully rips apart the critical mass of Reapers, drives them back to their base, and lo and behold, here we go again. It's going to be another 3 Rex, medevac play. This time around, though, there's no 3rd command center. He does have the 3 Rex much earlier, because obviously he went for the Reapers. So, wow, the Marines boldly going where only the Reapers had gone before. Might be able to pick off the Overlord. And with the Reapers as their protection crew. Yeah, the Zergling's not enough. Serral not bothering. The Marines now headed across the map. Stim +1 on the way. This is going to be a sharper timing from Cure. Serral acknowledging that gets a Bane nest. Not a Roach one, not a Lair. He's making sure he has Lings and Banes, which really cuts into your economy. It's very larva intensive this early on. But I think he's correctly realizing that he just needs to not die. He has the base advantage. The Watchtower catches a glimpse of these units on the field. A Lair building at the 3rd. So technically a Lair adds more HP to the base. Believe +1 armor as well, but there was a couple months when Serral was building Lairs at all his bases. But I think the 100 gas that it costs is just not worth it. At that point, just build more hatcheries. Like, especially nowadays with hatcheries at a slight discount because of queenflation. Queen's costing more. We're worth it. Okay, Brent. I don't. No Bane speed, as the lair isn't done yet. The Ling's ready for the wraparound. Trying to drag him in. That's not enough. Oh, he tries to target the Bane. It's an absolute disaster. Oh, wow. Fumbled it at the goal line and ran back for a field goal. And that's a big touchdown for Serral. Yes, he scores with everything he could and then some, and he goes to extra innings. Serral catching the throw. And Cure's almost out. Wow, that was a total disaster. Cure tried to target all the Banes like he was his teammate Clem. All it takes is two. Almost every single Marine wiped out. Any hope for gaining momentum off that drop evaporated with them. And Serral is nearing match point just like that. Yes, Cure can rebuild. He has a third command, but Serral's going to have a fourth hatch. He doesn't have upgrades. But once he has Bane speed, it's going to be almost impossible to attack in. The Zerglings. He has a Zergling at both third bases. Waiting for Cure to attempt it. Cure's just going to go for it. He doesn't have a third command center. He has two more racks at the back. Serral, 60 drones. Not overdoing it. Making more Lings and Banes. Bane speed closing in. He won't have the upgrades for quite a while, but Bane speed's the big one. That is... Cure really desperately wants him to attack into this. The double siege. The Liberators overhead. But he's holding absolutely the middle of nowhere right now. Medevac's coming back. Is he going to... What is this? Is he gonna ferry the next army to the... What? Meanwhile, unfortunately the front is now being completely annihilated. The Marines surrounded and ripped to shreds, I say. The Liberators just kind of hanging out there. The next group. Objective, survive. Cure shuttling his Marines over. Too scared of getting his reinforcements cut off, so he gets his main army cut down. It's like a horror movie. Serral, not building a single drone. He knows there's no third. He has the Zerglings on location. He knows he has an economic advantage. He should be able to build an overwhelming amount of units. Just incrementing the upgrades. The Queens are all gathering. The full Queen's moot. Rare to see, except in the most dire of circumstances, but this is more like a celebration. As Serral wraps all the way around. Looking to crush. There are a dozen Queens, 127 Zerglings. Dozens of Banelings. The reinforcements are going to get completely shut down. The Queens are holding the base. This is restricted lair space. Get off my creep. Okay, Brenda, I don't know. They should know. Serral looking to just crush this army, and here we go. From the back, from the front, from the sides, there's nowhere safe from the Lings and Banes. The Liberators overhead, once again, gonna be left with almost nothing to protect. Is he just Cure. 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 The Queens. Well, one gets picked up. There is a scenario, I guess, where the Liberators are actually able to take out all the anti-air and then remove the economy. Is he gonna lose the lair? Here come the Hydras. The Queens. Gonna tank much of it. There's actually nothing else but the Liberators here. He picks up the Marines. Cure. Okay. 9 Liberators. The Queens from the side. And if Cure see... Yep. Gonna try to reposition, but... Okay. He's just gonna go now. That should be enough. Queen stood are stepping forward. Knocking down the Liberators. And finally, getting rid of them. Here, putting more and more armies on the field, but the main base is modding out. The upgrades are not progressing. The Banelings are closing in. And Serral goes to match point. A decisive victory after Cure's ill-fated Reaper Rush. That was not even close to working. Serral barely broke a sweat, if any, with that sort of metabolic boost there. I don't know what he expected. Well, he tried to pull a Clem, which for everyone who isn't Clem, unfortunately, usually means disaster. And trying to target down every Bane like you have aimbot might work perfectly. The thing is, when Clem does it, it looks like a viable strategy. When literally the third best Terran, only 2 down, Maru and then Cure, tries it, it looks like he's a diamond player trying to beat Clem. The gap is unfathomable, yet relatively small macro-wise. But that's the difference. And Serral, appreciating. 3-0. The domination continues. Now I can only get so excited. Tokamonk. Cure's last chance. Don't worry, all he has to do now is win 4 in a row. Cure has beaten Serral before. In fact, I think we have... It looks like nobody said anything out early. There is one. There's something that lives rent-free in both mine and Serral's head, which is Serral's comment on one of his matches against Cure from some years ago, where instead of sleeping the last 2 nights, I have been thinking if the series would have looked different if I committed with the 4 Ravagers instead of giving him time to repair the Thor. And there's some SC2HL jumping in with a clip. What conclusion did you reach, Serral? I didn't reach any conclusions yet, so it's probably a safe bet I won't be sleeping tomorrow either. Serral. Whenever he loses, he has to go meditate in the Finnish wilderness by living off the land and slaughtering trolls for 1 to 2 weeks. Alright. And then maybe comes back and practices for 1 hour a day for the World Cup. I believe he lost that series based on the contemplation there. Though it doesn't necessarily, not necessarily true. It is Serral's sense of humor, I think, that even if he won, if too many mistakes were made, they're worthy of contemplation. Possibly a short pilgrimage in order to revisit his entire purpose in life. Third base, not happening. Reaper, up close and personal. Doesn't get the body block. Did Serral take the other base? Yeah, I'm gonna get some face time here. Takes the other. Now, did Serral... Most players like to take the triangle base. Makes it a bit easier as time goes on, expanding that direction to defend against drops and pushes. But maps are designed partially because Zerg players getting their third base blocked means they are incredibly far behind. Getting it delayed is only a little behind, but you can catch up in multiple ways. Starport on the way. 1-1-1. For the first time, we're trying the Destiny Cloud Fizz build. My inner demon wants me to call it. But you're finally moving away from the barracks play, which has done nothing but lead him astray on this fateful day. In fact, Serral has made him pay. almost every game. The Marines attempt to slay, but instead, their lives were taken away. Not even a shade of gray. Or so I say. Like and subscribe. Liberator is the choice. Cure! A big fan of those Liberators. Possibly too big a fan of those Liberators, but against pretty much every non-Serral Zerg, I'm sure. Like, Liberators are a very tilting unit. A unit that is so technical to take out. So easily you can overcommit and find yourself taking critical damage for almost no reason. It always feels like you should just be able to kill it. But then, it lives. He found the right spot. It's a fake! He's faking Cloak while going. Are you doing Hellbats? Oh, I do not like Hellbats. I've talked about Hellbats so many times. Or is it just him? Okay, he's not getting an armor. Hellbats, the epitome of mediocrity. Alright, I'm not just talking about your biography, but instead, a unit that should have stayed as a Hellion. Let's be honest here. Hellbat all-ins are countered by Queens. Almost nothing else is hard countered by Queens, but Hellbats can take down the medevac. And there are no Hellbats here. He's just running by with the Hellions. Oh, hell. The Queens are closing in. But enough of them will get by, and the Queen on the ramp. You had one job! And a Liberator in the main. Oh, the fire and fury! As all the drones getting charbroiled right now. 19 drones, 20 drones! Burninating across the countryside. It's a disaster for Serral. His economy incinerated. And the Liberator's still alive. It may die to a single spore. He's trying to find an angle here, but Serral well placed. Does he come around again? The spore crawler chasing, but that was a lot of damage. And it only cost the Hellions. The Hellions are, well, thankfully they weren't Hellbats, but Hellions effectively expendable, especially to help get 20 drones. And Cure has the worker lead, he has the upgrade lead, he has the production, he has the supply. It's not gonna get any better than this for the People's Terran. He has a Liberator to help cover his base. Going to have over a minute upgrade advantage. He's going straight up to the Octo-Rex. Mass Marine timing. Throw a few tanks in there. Make life incredibly difficult for Serral. He's getting Baneling speed, he's getting 1-1. But Cure, if he can't make this happen... Well, it doesn't matter because the series ends, but... that will truly be a test of Serral's competence and Cure's lack of killer ins. This is such an advantage. Even though the supplies don't really reflect it. 1-1 Marines and tanks with plenty of economy to back it up. Cure stopped building SCVs. He's producing a dozen Marines at a time. He's pumping them out as fast as Zerglings and then some. Combat shield is not done. Baneling speed is. But the fourth base is about to be under fire. 3 siege tanks. 1 medevac scouting forward the Queens. Politely yet firmly ask it to leave. It'll be back though. Cure, 1+1's done. Other upgrades closing in. Combat shield and +1 armor will make this even more difficult. So setting up, but you can see the supply starting to pull away. The Queen's getting caught moving forward. I think Serral trying to buy time until 1-1. Setting up to cut off the reinforcements as well. He has 74 drones. If he can just hold the 4th and keep his drones alive. The Lings and Banes are rolling in, the double-pronged attack, but the Queens! Get out of the way! The Banelings caught up on the significant posteriors of the Queens. And much like your mother, sometimes they get in the way. Meanwhile, 20-30 supply gap, the Queens cut down. Great splits by Cure and 2 siege tanks to back it up. Serral, torn apart. The Hellion softened him up. And the siege tanks battered him down. It's not a clean sweep, at least. Well. Sometimes they just run by with the Hellions. And Serral, a little out of position. Should have had a queen on the ramp. Would have made a huge difference. He probably could have bounced it out of the way or gotten a lot at the natural. But it would have helped. But it's a huge gamble. But Cure, I think, at the point where huge gambles are worth taking. Because... oh. Well. I don't think you can rely too much on that as Cure. Serral's not... fool me once, and I won't get fooled again. But... good to get one on the board. Especially since game one was so close. 2 games that increasingly slid away from him. And now he's back in it. Still quite a steep mountain to climb. But he's begun the first step. The mountain, for me, that I ask of you, a little bit less difficult. All you must do is like and subscribe. And good things will happen. To me. With the algorithm. That's all I can speak for. Alright, legally. I should not... otherwise, I should not speak. If I speak, I will get in big trouble. I don't want to be in big trouble. Ley lines. Bull first. Yeah, worth noting. Sorry. Serral. Just throwing in a little bit of spice of his own here. This is actually reindeer fur. Finland is weird. Surprisingly savory, but Cure, not SCV scouting. The one game Serral goes bull first. Now, Serral is not trying to win the game here. I lied. He is SCV scouting. But, wait. The Zerglings should get out moments before the SCV spots them. Not knowing how many Zerglings are sent across the map. He should know this is a pull first. The Reaper is heading out. He just registered it. Okay. Just trying to make sure. He knows for a fact that that hatchery should have been done or close to it. So the Reaper has to stay at home for a while, and so just chilling. He's got several games to try some cheeky plays, and this doesn't set your economy back very much. If you don't get anything done or the Zerglings get taken out, then you are a little further behind than usual. But it's a small risk for a potentially large reward. And he's got Zergling speed on the way as well. Interesting. A lot of the times this leads into just like a gasless, but against a Terran who's shown a tendency to get a little feisty with the Hellions. Probably not something you want to do. And here we go again. The Queen flirtation phase yet again will begin. Meanwhile, the Zerglings, anticipating the reactor switch, gets the third. But Cure just builds a single hell, not even going to bother trying. Doesn't want those Zerglings sneaking in before he can actually get any Hellions out. So delays his own build because the Zerglings exist. And does Cure have any knowledge of the gas? No. He did not see that Zergling speed is potentially on the way, and Serral snuck back with the Lings. Tucked into the corner. Mm-hmm. 5 Zerglings. Well, formerly 6 Zerglings. Terrorizing the entire Terran base. As well they should. Roach Warren's on the way. The safety Warren yet again. Falling back to it. This time it will be up against the 1-1-1. The Barracks Factory Starport. It's going to be a Cloak Banshee. Kind of crazy. The first time we're seeing a Cloak Banshee in the entire series. The other ones were just very well cloaked. But Hellions. A single Zergling. Always. The Serral gets in. Gets a scout. Yes, there's a small chance of a fake. The Hellions will run by. But, this old dog should have learned a new trick. Yeah. Tried to dart by. Gonna lose the Reaper. Several of the Hellions. Does not kill any drones. Yes, you could make kind of the pedantic argument about how forcing out Zerglings is technically killing drones because the drones were never born. But nobody likes people who talk like that. All right. Moving on. Lair's on the way. Third base gonna land, but what's back at home to defend? The defensive Banshee? Okay, well, that confirms there's a Banshee. Obviously, but double engineering bay. Is that double Evo? No, just one Evo. The incremental upgrade style here from Serral. +1 Carapace, road speed. We cover all those Zerg in extra hard Carapace. Fourth base, infestation pit. There's nothing slowing them down. The Banshees, the Hellions, they're all quite late in the grand scheme of things. The follow-up is not going to be anytime soon. The fourth base should be all right. Overseers in production. Serral's going to have 70+ drones. He's going to have roaches with +1 Carapace. And he possibly could just start a hive. Baneling Nest has already begun. Banshees zoned out by the queens. So Cure has not found any edges to try to cut through Serral so far. In fact, his timing's been blunted somewhat. It's going to be the Marines and tanks. But can he even afford to move out before 200 supply? There's a very big risk he just gets crushed. He's got to take some risks, though. Like, he needs something. The time for chilling is past. The Banshees and Serral saw him cloak. The Overlord in position. And the Banshees will be shepherded away. Queens. Papers, please. Roaches, Ravagers. Baneling speed. 1-1. All the fixins for Serral. 77 drones. Very solid. A few more on the way. You can't ask for much better. Like, this is... It's not a decisive attack. It's not like Serral's going to win the game with one attack. But Cure can't afford any mistakes now. He can't even afford any mediocre fights. Because if Serral's allowed to get his hive tech up and Cure's bottled up in his base, Serral will just crush him. He will just crush him. Not in a fun way. 3 more racks. Fifth base. The Vipers passed down from game 2? Has it been? Since we saw Vipers? From game 2? From game 1? From my grandpappy and his grand... Okay. Adrenal glands on the way, but the Vipers. That crowbar. The half-life of the Vipers just incredible here for Serral. And definitely part of the reason why Vipers are considered to be such an incredible unit and not something that you lose every single time you try to use them and use the Celestial Army hockey. Ah! Ravagers, Lings, Banes, graphical glitch on that weird part of the map that's been there since the map was added to the pool. We got everything going on. Hydralisk dead. Where's that Spore Crawler going? Okay, he pulls a Spore from the main to the 4th. Is that a promotion? We'll call it that. More responsibility. No pay raise. Classic. Cure trying to keep the pressure on, keeping the creep at bay. But Serral, Hydralisk Den on the way. One queen. Oh, it was just Karen. She's always out being annoying. Oh, okay. The depot wall, but Serral just goes by it on the right side, which, yeah, for all you can build your walls, you actually need something behind it. Might make you feel safe, but not exactly the most secure location. He just runs out. Actually, it isn't a wall, technically. But Cure is as close as he's going to get to 200 supply. 138 to 114 army supply. Serral +2 Carapace. He's coming down the ramp between a rock and a hard place. That is a very optimistic fight, but he's cutting off the reinforcements. Serral losing a chunk of his Zerglings. That was not a good fight for Serral. Going down a ramp into a siege tank. Sure, a blinding cloud or two, but that's not enough. Cure's finished 2-2, and suddenly the turntables have turned somewhat. As Cure, again, holding this position. The Banshees have made it across the map. Serral needs to hit from multiple angles. There's no way he can just come down that ramp into the siege tanks. He's got an attack from the north side. A few Ravagers. Going to pick off one of the tanks. The Viper. That's an antique. How about... The Viper's in position. Can just yank the tanks potentially. Blinding Cloud. Knocks him out. Catches some of the Marines. The Marines on the run. The Roaches and Ravagers clear up the tanks. The spread is beautiful. But there's not enough units even to survive the Banelings, and Cure's down 50 supply. Serral refills, knocks the Banshees out of the sky. And now, I'm not gonna lie. Terrans may very well cry. And Serral may breathe a sigh of relief after that decisive victory in the fight. Didn't look so incredible until you look at the supply afterwards. But Cure does not have the economy. He doesn't have a 4th base online. He doesn't have 3-3 upgrades. He leaned everything into this attack. Knowing that Serral had already progressed so far up the tech tree, he invested in a lot of resources and things that hadn't quite paid off. Things like the Hydras, like the 3-3 upgrades, like all these extra bases and drones. So now Cure is going to be facing a stronger army with the same thing or less. I'm not optimistic. No ghosts. Some liberators, of course. Just mixing them in there. Hoping for the best. But the Vipers. The Vipers. Parasitic bombs. Banelings. The splash damage in the ground and the air. Through all the fire and fury, Serral has held strong. That inexorable Zerg style. The adaptations. Ultralists, unfortunately, left by the wayside for more flexible and dynamic unit compositions. The Kool-Aid Man style of Zerg being left behind for the much more surgical dismantling of the Hydras, Lurkers, and Lings. Cure floating his main command center. And an indicator of the hustle culture all Terrans subscribe to for some reason or another. But here comes Serral. Maxed out. Vipers refilled. Upgrades. Continuing. Enough for Blinding Cloud. The Ravagers, Lings, and Banes. From 3 sides. Banelings rolling through. The Liberators trying their best. One gets knocked down. Banelings, the explosive meat shield. And Cure may survive. And he may not. GG. Serral takes it with a decisive and dominant 4-1 victory. Cure got his lucky run by and was able to capitalize. But after that, the trials and tribulations on torches, Serral reasserted himself and ran away with it. Just an incredible series out of Serral. A strong one out of Cure. Honestly, playing close to the... It's going to sound like an insult, but dragging Serral to the limit even in one game. I think we're spoiled by Clem existing, for better or worse. Sometimes I feel for worse, but Serral, those Vipers, continuing. They survived through the end of the series. Yes, he lost a couple Vipers in the first game. We're ignoring that. But hopefully you enjoyed. Thank you to Pig for all these incredible tournaments. Make sure to check them out. Link in the description. And thank you to you for watching. I hope I made your day a little bit better. And if you got the means of motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free. At least for now. Thanks to our mule patrons, bringing in all those extra minerals as they do. Big Jig, Devin, Door, Kate, Mario, Random Guy, Suit, and everyone. Hope you still enjoyed. If you haven't yet checked out Clem versus Serral finals as well, just maybe compare and contrast. Be awesome if you could do so. And otherwise, thank you for watching. Good luck. Have fun. I'll see you next time. Stay chill.